Sometimes I don't know if this story is just for me or if the whole world will end up watching someday. I pray that many souls will pay attention and listen, because once you hear how crazy all this stuff is surrounding Paisley Park and Prince, you'll be wanting to listen. Anyway, let me start here. On 4/21 of 2016, they made the announcement that Prince had passed at about 1 o'clock Eastern time. So this is my post from Facebook. It may seem strange. Prince knew and I knew. That's all I can really say right now. No flu. The breakdown is what it was and is. More to come. Purple hippie forever. The reason I said the breakdown is what it was and is, more to come, is because the first time that I heard the song Breakdown, I knew that something was wrong. I told my family that something was wrong. So when I had heard the song Breakdown, it sounded so different than anything that Prince had made before. And I actually told my family, I said, you know what? The media is going to start breaking down Prince the way that they have others, like Whitney and Michael and all those things. I said, they're going to start breaking down Prince. Just watch. And so much so that this is my daughter's post on April 21st, 2016. She said, I'm in shock. My mom is thrown. Why are they taking all the greats? She called it too. That's what my daughter was like. She knew I had told her what was going to happen. Here's the thing. I've been listening to Prince since I was 13 years old. When I heard the song Breakdown, the music was in a different key. The voice sounded different. Everything about it sounded different. And I actually thought I heard in this part of the song that he was screaming for help. I'll play a couple parts of the song for you that really struck me as being weird, because having listened to Prince at that time for 25, 26 years, it's been 43 now. But at that time, I knew the music sounded different. Check it out. So right off the bat, those keys, it's like F minor, I think I read, they were really, they sounded almost out of tune and said, hey, pay attention to me, but in the wrong way. So I listened to the song, and it's very sad and a very high-pitched, falsetto-y type voice. I didn't really care for the voice of the song. And then when it got mid-song, when I heard that scream in particular is the one that said to me, Elizabeth, listen to me. What we talked about is going to happen. They're going to begin breaking me down. Pay attention. So that's why on the afternoon of 4/21/2016, that's why I said no flu, the breakdown. Is what it was and is. That's why I pointed out that the breakdown is what this was. It wasn't, well, at first the media announced that it might be the flu. That's why it says no flu, the breakdown. So let's find out about the breakdown, shall we? Like I said, when I found Prince, I was just about 13 years old, and it was the Purple Rain era. This is the Prince that I came to know. He was cool and hip and wore big collars and cool coats and scarves, but everything that he wore always left him looking manly. My sister took me to the theater to see Purple Rain, and I just knew that the little man that I saw explode on the screen had entertained me far beyond any other musician that I had ever watched. And my life was made up of music. Throughout all of my life, it's been about music. So when I heard, even though I was only 13, I heard Prince's music, I knew that there was something about it and he was getting my attention. And then when he did that thing where he turns around and looks at the screen at the end, I felt like I had known him before. And I said, to myself, I'm going to know that man. And I just, the music entertained me so much. It was hyper, it was sexy, it was fun, and it was magnetic. And I just knew I had to have more. So I followed Prince everywhere he went from the time I was 13 to now. I had listened to the 1999 album before that, but it didn't suck me in the way that Purple Rain did. Maybe it was the music and the movie together, or seeing, him in action. But something just drew me in, and I just knew that I was meant in my soul to know this music and this purpose. I didn't actually come to know Dirty Mind era Prince, controversy era Prince, until after Purple Rain, because as I was introduced, I wanted to hear more and more of it. So I went back, and at that time we had records and tapes. So you only had so much access to music unless you had lots of money. So it wasn't until after that I went back and was able to discover this part of Prince. What I mean to say really is that I've been there for every era of Prince for the last 43 years. And so what I want to do is educate you more to why I said it's the breakdown, and why the media is now currently trying to take the image of a man that I grew to love and know and watch by the music. It wasn't so much the man, because when you don't have cable, you don't really get to watch MTV that much. And, I just went out and ended up buying all the CDs and stuff, and listening and listening and listening and listening and listening. So when I heard that song Breakdown, I just knew that something was different about the music. And actually, I had made posts too about Prince reappearing in public around 2011 with an afro, talking about how I didn't like it and it didn't look like him because he didn't have as much style and things like that. So my point is that since 1983, I have been stuck like glue to Prince. The music, it felt like it was coming out of my own pores. I felt like I knew where it was going next. The harmonies and the melodies and the layering of the vocals and the messages within the music. I felt like I'd heard them before. And so it really wasn't even seemingly of my own control that I listened so, like a stalker, kind of. I listened like I was being brainwashed with the music. And, I consumed as much Prince information as I could with magazines and things like that back in the day. This is my own Google Doc that I'm running in the background. I don't know how many pictures are here, but I've made it my business to expose what I heard about Prince in the afterlife, combined with all of my life's years, wisdom, all that information, to get it out there into the public, because it's the hugest story that you're ever going to hear. When I was growing up, Prince always looked like a man. He might have been wearing heels and some makeup, always had his hair all done. He still looked like a man. Even as a slave, he still looked like a man. Sometimes even looked a bit vampiric. Certainly appeared sexy. Dressing well and always looking like a man. Who, me? Yes, you. It wasn't until 2011, 2012 that Prince started making public appearances with this wig. This is what Prince looked like before. That's all man. Like I said, a little makeup, some earrings, looking good. And here you start reappearing in public after a kind of a disappearance in 2010. I'm going to tell you why he disappeared in 2010, because that's when I met him during my clinical death. He told me about clones and lookalikes and why he went from looking like this to looking like that. From looking like this, my first concert, Love Sexy, to being shown in the media looking like this. And to me, after having watched him for all those years, he didn't look the same to me. Because again, I told you, I was a stalker watcher. I was brainwashed with the music and I was watching. The media has taken this man, Prince Rogers Nelson, that we all came to know, this manly image, these images, and you can see here that he looks like a girl. This is not the same person. So that's why when I said it's the breakdown, more to come, purple hippie forever, that's what I meant. I knew Prince's image was being broken down before I even knew that I knew. When Prince started making public appearances in 2011 with the afro, one thing he also did was wear these round sunglasses, probably a throwback to Purple Rain, but then with the third eye sunglasses as well. It's always disguising what he really looks like. Another way that you can tell is by looking at the divot in the lip. The old Prince would have like a bigger divot right here, and the newer Prince, his is more flat. A throwback to these glasses, I'm sure, but the third eye sunglasses. This is the cover from the record Breakdown, the song that I've been referencing, and the third eye sunglasses. And I just knew the wig and the third eye. It's all too gimmicky. Prince never had to be, Prince Rogers Nelson was never that gimmicky. He didn't dress like that. He didn't wear his hair like that. And he wouldn't wear them just to reference, hey, my third eye awareness. No, he didn't have to flagrantly throw it in our faces. This is what the lookalike decided to do with the information that they had. It's why the band then in 2011, 2012, 13, 14 called themselves Prince and Third Eye Girl. The glasses, the third eye, it's the pineal awareness of God. It's the seat of the soul. It's the pineal gland. So when they were putting on these shows and referencing themselves as Third Eye Girl, it was to reference the information that they had come into after what I discovered meeting Prince in 2010 during my clinical death experience. That wasn't really a death. This new Prince wanted to make sure that he was indirectly but directly expressing his knowledge of the third eye awareness by even wearing the clothes of, looks like a little alien guy with the third eye on it. This show that was publicized at London at the Roadhouse, it has Prince looking like somebody off the Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is not the same man. That's a ton of makeup, different jawline. So on 2/11/2016, this is why this passport came out with the afro and the look. You can see that this Prince is trying real hard to take on this same look and just do the exact same look, but 30 years later with a wig. Not the same person. But they put out the passport photo into the media to say, look who's here. Let's see if this is working. Let's put this fake Prince out into the public eye. And it worked. Because when he did appear in public, he was always wearing dark sunglasses and the big fro. This could literally be anybody. You know, the reason Prince sings the song Girls and Boys is because girls and boys were actually being used to play him. This is one. Her name is Natalia Phillips. That's her actress bio, her modeling and acting bio. And here's the thing, 70% of the phone calls from Paisley Park to California were to her from March of 2016 to April 20th, 2016, or April 19th, somewhere in there. Natalia Phillips, she takes credit for, right here it says, the piano and a microphone tour print work she did. And she was also in his A Million Days video. So she had worked in and around Prince before and was familiar with the way that things work. This is another assistant, Marone Becure. I believe she was dressing up and playing Prince as well. This is her, Marone Becure. Marone is short for Merovingian. I'm always talking about the family. You'll have to go listen to those videos. Judith Hill, she was playing lookalike for sure. This is another assistant, Julia Ramadan. And I'm pretty sure good old Taika Tika got her hands dirty too. That's me. I thought it was funny. And last but not least, Kirk Johnson. The media will have you to believe that this is Prince as a little boy. talking to the guys about the strike, but Kirk Johnson makes the exact same side eye, and he too was dressing up as Prince. You can see on this CCTV shot that I got, this is Kirk entering the doctor's office. And what is this black fuzzy thing that he has around his neck? By golly, it kind of looks like a wig, doesn't it? Just hanging down. And the other thing that is very important is notice this Under Armour symbol right here. The day that Prince was found dead, he was wearing an Under Armour jacket. And they said he was wearing the same clothes that he was in the day before. These last concerts, piano and a microphone, you don't know who you're seeing. Could be Natalia Phillips, could be Judith Hill, could be anybody, but it wasn't Prince Rogers Nelson, not the one I grew up with. The cover-up of the death investigation and everything that I talk about on my videos, it goes so far. The lookalikes and the cover-up goes so far. That's why there are two different images in the death photos. One is described as him wearing a dark gray long sleeve shirt under a jacket that has been torn. And the other one, the Under Armour jacket under one that has been cut by the paramedics. And these are two distinctly different looking pictures and people. In fact, this one is still defrosting. Why the cover-up? Why was it necessary? Why the lace front wigs? Why do you see burn marks where Prince would wear the cuff on his ear when you investigate thoroughly like I have? Those are burn marks. It's an electrical device. Torture. No doubt there was a plan. There always has been. But what was the plan and what are they covering up? And what am I talking about?
Came when he slain his brother. Did he ever come close to knowing how?
The same 369 code for Lucifer can be seen in the date of death. In essence, it's GE or GE, which gives us the code word George. It's used all throughout politics, from George Washington to George Bush to George Soros to George Orwell to Bob George. Prince called the bad guy Bob George. Another way to say George is Jorge, as in George Mario Bergoglio, the former Pope. Jorge, G-E or G-E. George Bergoglio. You remember when Prince was being interviewed by Oprah? He said it's so cold it keeps the bad people out.
It's so cold it keeps the bad people out.
Burr for Bergoglio. If what I'm saying seems at all strange, you may ask yourself why the music industry looks like this.
Same as it ever was.
The devil seems to have quite the interest in music, whether it's the satanic imagery that's ever pervasive in metal, or the legendary fiddle duel in The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
The devil went down to Georgia, he was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind because he was way behind and he was willing to make a deal.
But there's one tale of the devil in music that captivates like no other, and it's one that's been told for centuries. Deals with the devil have appeared in Western mythology for a long time, but they really first started catching on in the late 1500s, It's thanks to a man named Johann Faust. Faust was a German alchemist and magician who was alleged to have made a pact with the demon Mephistopheles in return for his soul. Less than 100 years later, legends of the devil meddling in musical affairs started once more. In the 1920s and 30s, a pair of blues musicians in the Mississippi Delta are alleged to have run-ins with the devil.
You twins? Nah, we cousins.
There are legends of people with the gift of making music so true it can conjure spirits from the past and the future. This gift can bring fame and fortune, but it also can pierce the veil between life and death.
Listen here, this ain't no house party. I am your way out.
The Jimi Hendrix experience is over. The acid rock musician died today in a London hospital, apparently from an overdose of drugs. The death of another rock musician was disclosed today. Jim Morrison, 27 years old, lead singer of The Doors. But the death was kept secret to avoid a sensation.
Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of the enormously popular rock band Nirvana, is dead.
The international music industry is in shock with the death of rock star Michael Hutchence.
The Hollywood coroner says an overdose of narcotics is responsible for the death of the well-known rock singer Janis Joplin.
Paramedics raced to the 4th floor and found a lifeless Whitney Houston inside her hotel room bathtub.
Michael Jackson has died.
Now reporting.
And we are coming on the air right now awaiting new information about the death of the legendary musician Prince. He was found dead in his home just outside Minneapolis.
So, the media would have you believe that every major superstar, from Elvis to Prince and many, many more, have all died from some type of drugs, opiates. Oh, you know, it's just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. No one will pay attention. But I'm paying attention, and you should too. Because the granddaddy of them all, this media story that they're planning on coming out with about Prince being the head of the satanic music industry, when in fact he's quite the opposite, could be a devastating blow to the truth if we don't get on top of it. And that's why I'm brave enough to come here and tell it, no matter how crazy it sounds. The media promoted that Prince had hip surgery, and that's why he was taking medication that led to him taking medication that was disguised as Vicodin that was actually fentanyl. That's what they say. The fentanyl was actually self-induced because of the lookalikes that were being used at Paisley Park. So when you study the investigation, you find that there are 2 or more investigations and at least 4 identities for Prince. So Prince was held in the music industry as royalty, as 40 years of no conflicts, no lawsuits, no charges, no nothing. Squeaky clean. And there's a reason for that. They said that he was private, so that they could control the media narrative. He showed me in the afterlife what was planned for him on 4/21/2016, and it's too big. I'm not there yet. But to stop that from happening, to stop the sacrifice of Victor in the music industry, that's why he self-induced the fentanyl. And all it takes is one look at the Midwest Medical Examiner's paperwork, and it says the decedent self-administered fentanyl, and it also lists it as an injury. Suicides are listed as injuries, and if it was an accidental overdose, that's the way it would read. A smart person is going to want to be on top of the truth, because the truth will crush you with humility, and well, it's going to crush the lies. I know that, and there's a lot of those out there circulating right now. So they're trying to take this Prince, like I said early in the video, the manly Prince, the writer, the composer, the everything, the I am, who played in the music industry for a time. And, well, because he signed a contract and cooperated with them for a time, they were able to do certain things. But a lot of that's being exposed in the media these days, too. So because I met Prince as a soul, in the afterlife, it was 2010, and he told me that he was free from this hypnosis, this psychopharmacology induced, basically like a coma, like a stupor that he was put into while his essence was used. Like I said, soul possessions and swapping and stuff like that. So even though it sounds really wild, it's like the song Get Wild. It is wild because the world that we've been handed, the media, the propaganda, the movies, the music industry, it is programming. It's brainwashing. It's meant to make us believe certain things, and it wants us, media, being controlled by white power, the music industry being controlled by white power, the religious industry being controlled by white power. Listen again, the music industry is controlled by white power and very devilish. Prince was known in interviews, he would say, I am music. And the way it was told to me in the life after, music is beyond language. It's an understanding that goes beyond. That's all I can say. And when I stood in the life after, I told the questioning angels and accusers that I learned a great deal of what I learned in my life from the music. Just all aspects of music. I really listened to the lyrics, and I knew that they told life stories, and they told things that were truer than what I had seen in this reality of a life that we're in. So the music industry is, I've said it many times, I couldn't have lived without music. Music is truly meant to be a gift. It's in Shemaim, it's in the heavenlies, but everybody loves music so much that it tames the savage beast. You know what I mean? So in the industry where white power and Klansmen and false religion take over an industry, of course they want to promote their own message. That's why you have so many people doing what they're doing at the Grammys and at the Super Bowl and everywhere else. It's really been since 2016 that before that you could turn on those hideous shows and see that they weren't all satanistic, but as the time goes on it gets worse and worse and worse. And that's because contractually the others believe that they have our very creator under control by contract. I know that sounds wild, but the way that I remember it, the way that it was explained to me, our souls, our neshama, Elizabeth Pride, who stands before you, my neshama that's in my body is so much greater than I know, than I could possibly know. It's like when Hashem called King David, and he told him, even though he's a shepherd and estranged from his family, and he picked him because he could see the heart. So I was told that that's why I am able to tell this story, because of my heart and because of who I am and because of my attachment to the music and to God and to, creating a better world for all holy souls and ones that need forgiveness. So I forgot where I was going with that. Because our souls are so much bigger than we can know until you see those things during your life review, like I did. The soul that I met as Prince, when I met him there, it's weird for me, and I still don't get it totally. He said that he didn't know. Because he was under all the hypnosis and psychopharmacology and all the drugs, that he kind of didn't know who he was either until he woke up at this point, or when the other Prince was having hip surgery. Because like I said, there was lookalikes, and it was 2010, and that's when Prince went out of the spotlight for a minute, and that's when they claimed that he had hip surgery. But anyway, it was 2010, and that's when he was like replaced with this other girly looking Prince. But he said when he got there, they found out why he could always hear things, hear me, why he had to be so particular with the music. He was trying to, instead of letting the industry run him and his music, that's why he was labeled as being so controlling and spent hours and lifetimes in the studio and producing, and nothing that one human being could do. It was because the music had to sound a certain way, and then he laced it with love, and he laced it with messages of God and hope and sexuality, and the industry didn't like that. So Prince would always put clues in his videos that would come to be later on. It's why the lyrics to his songs are still relevant now, because they were meant to stand all time, like still would stand all time, you know? So I know it sounds weird that he could be under contract or that the music could be such, but here's the deal. It was only by way of somehow, I don't know how, this contract that I said in some of my other videos, it was explained to me that because of the mysterious way in which the Creator works inside of us, things have to go a certain way. There's a path, there's a journey, and it's already been written. So just hold on tight. And that journey in the beginning got somehow messed up. It was based on a bet or something like that. And so then, throughout this contract, he performed in the industry. They know he's the Creator. They know his energy. They know what they did to him as the golden calf of this lifetime. They know that our world is truly not what we've been taught. So because he was in the contract with them, that's why he would perform so sexually. He told me that was kind of like an act that the others, the Klansmen, the white supremacists, and all those weirdos in Hollywood, they're very, when you study Kabbalah, I guess it's a lot of, you find out a lot of truths about the world and sexuality, and a non-righteous mind or a dirty mind or whatever can't handle the information that I'm trying to give, the truth about the Creator. So it was, the others are very stimulated by his essence. When they would watch him jack off with the guitar during concert, it would take them to deviant places in their minds, Paisley Park after dark parties, things that you can't even imagine unless you've looked into, God forbid. So he operated within a certain system of things due to the contract, but whilst in the industry put out as much love and energy and truth as he could. He told me that he didn't know that anybody was listening as closely as I was, but he had hoped that they were. So that's my same feeling. I feel like nobody's listening to me, but someday they will. They'll say that crazy girl was right. So here's the thing. When I was there in 2010, he had told me that somehow, because of all the practices and medically induced comas and psychopharmacology and things that are too gross to mention, I saw him in other lifetimes with missing limbs and as a machine man and with a gaping hole in his chest. There is a dark entity, like a Luciferian woman entity, that hangs around him, and that entity, that woman man, like, that's the white supremacist. That's the evil that likes to play in the music industry. That's why you will see Beyonce, for instance, change into Sasha Fierce when she's performing. That's why you see Lady Gaga looking the way that she did on the Super Bowl. And that's why Sam Smith has changed from this crooner to this, I don't know what he is now. These people have all signed contracts to bring attention to Satan's house. And that industry is like everything, all of the occult, all of the politicians, all of the medical industry, all of the... I gotta watch what I say because I want them to play my video. I saw this stuff in the afterlife, and I'm willing to risk everything that I am to tell the truth, because in this world, the truth of the Creator has been used against us. This world that these contracts and this industry and the white supremacists, it's all real. The industry, he told me, I'm not sure how. It's if you listen to the monologue, The War, he talks about the war that will go on and on. He talks about the RFID chip in your neck. He talks about the metropolis underneath the city. And he also says, you give me AIDS, your history. It's, again, everything that he put out for us to consume, I consumed. And so when I stood in the afterlife and he told me these things, to me it made way more sense than the world that I had ever grown up in. So I've had 6 years with it now, since all this information came back to me since 2020, and I guess I can look and sound a little nonchalant at times. And everything is on a timeline. Everything is so... When you watch a tree, make buds in the springtime, and then you watch them open up a little bit, and then there's a whole leaf. When you watch that and you think about the Creator, and you know that there's a Creator to the world causing those things to happen, look at yourself the same way. Know that within you, that there is a holy neshama, a source. The Creator is right in you, and he's opening up inside of you to bring you to who you're supposed to be too. We don't usually find out who we are until we die. Because I had that life after death, that clinical death experience, I found out this stuff. The 10-year gap from 2010 to 2020, I'm still a little confused on that, but I think it has to do something with CERN and a recreation of time. Prince calls it a parallel hologram copyright. It has to do with, because there was a contract, the others would claim that the creations of the Creator are their own, which is ludicrous. They were able to get away with that in a certain way in the industry with the music, but you'll hear Prince talk all the time about intellectual property rights and everything else, and there's a timeline to everything. And my lifetime was, lifetimes, but this lifetime that we're in now, 2020 and beyond, those things were shown to me. The contract with the Creator, they've been trying the others in false religion, the ones, the elite, the ones who do all the genocides, all that stuff. That's why people get called conspiracy theorists, people like me. It's crazy because I know me. I know my 55 years of lifetime that I've had. I know my wisdom. I know my experiences. I know what's happened to me since spring of 2020. I know that no one and nothing can take anything from me because it's all on the inside. So sometimes I get a little twisty and turny in these messages and my mind goes a couple of different ways, but I'm trying to get to the point that with this timeline and the Creator being in this contract, because he was putting messages of love and hope and God in his music. When I met him in the afterlife in 2010, he was basically exposed. It's like the song when he says, the electric chair for all my future crimes, electric chair. It's also in the extended version of Batman. He sings about an electric chair because he told me, here's the thing, that the evil industry keepers, gatekeepers of this world, he had to bring them to a place where they could be exposed. So they could take off their heads. That's what's happening right now. These people, not just the music industry, but all of them, the evil that's in this upside down, propaganda-filled, sexually driven America, which is a crime. America spells a crime. So that's what they look at us as, a bunch of loser nobodies, people that have degraded this lifetime, and they don't care what happens to us. So let's teach them all to drink alcohol and smoke and do drugs and use, a bunch of zombies on the street upside down. Nobody cares. Homeless. The industry is revealing itself. The Epstein files are revealing itself. The politicians are revealing themselves. The music industry is revealing itself. But here's the other part. You know who is behind all of this, is what I was told? It has something to do with North Korea. Because in Korea, their propaganda, their lives, are completely controlled. There's no media, no radio, no television, no nothing. And I was shown in the afterlife that they've been over there studying Torah for a while now, because, as I said, there are others in the world that know what I'm saying is true. And there is a time coming that the Creator is going to expose himself, but the others are going to call him the Antichrist. They are going to say that he's evil. They will use propaganda beyond, I don't even know. I saw some crazy stuff. When he told me that this was going to happen, there was a lot of tears and everything. And I said, no, I'm going to tell the world what you're telling me. They're going to listen. And he said, no, they won't. Until these things come to fruition, people are just, their heads are too far up their own rear ends. It's just a non-eloquent way of saying it, but it's the truth. I found the world is very cold and lonely, and people don't like the truth. It makes them uncomfortable with the way that they live their own lives. And I'm not here to bash anybody, because I am far from perfect, but I sure have come a long way. And I believe in myself, and I believe in you. So with this timeline of everything happening in a certain way, and Korea out there lining up their ballistic missiles right now, there was a plan from the beginning of time. Korach, Nimrod, all of Hashem's enemies, same soul, different name. When we come back in these lifetimes, they're different bodies, but the soul inside of them is the same. And that's what I'm saying about my own soul, is it goes way back. So do these other souls. And this understanding and remembrance that I have of being told that the Koreans would study Torah, it's because Kim Jong-un would have them learning the truth. Because when this time comes, redemption comes, then his people will be able to stand accountable and say, well, we didn't do this and we didn't do it. And look at America, they're disgusting. Look at their president, he's a pedo. And the whole thing, it's the fall of America is purposeful. It's a plan. And the music, the whole Prince thing, the Korea thing, it's all part of it, because as part of the contract, the Creator showed me that they were able to have his physical vessel, his body, because when I met him, he was a soul. He didn't have his body on. I was a soul. I had just overdosed. And so he told me that body that they had, that they kept, was going to be in that electric chair that I mentioned earlier, because he was going to be punished for all his future crimes at a certain time. And this electric chair has to do with opening the portal at CERN, and this whole Luciferian, what they think anyway. They don't know anything about holy souls or how they're brought back into these lifetimes. They only believe in what they can see and feel. And I know it sounds weird. I don't like talking about it. It's the worst thing. But he told me that they would, when they would electrocute him, that it would that it was supposed to do something in the world, that it was supposed to bring in some kind of darkness, some kind of Luciferian time when they could call him the Antichrist or something, which is why I sang the song Anti-Christian. It's the lyrics of the music tell the story that is unfolding now. I couldn't put all this together in my mind if I tried, even if, listening to Prince for 43 years, I couldn't fill in the gaps without having been, had the clinical death experience, which really wasn't a death because my holy soul doesn't die. It's eternal. And that's another thing I was told, which is why I was brought there and held for a certain time such as this, because there are only certain souls that will not care what the rest of the world thinks of them in the least. They'll do their best to be their best and to be everything that they are and nothing that they're not. That's me. And this electrocution, if you look at the new movie Frankenstein, when they say that they made this creation and tried to do something good with something bad, that's what the evil ones, what the gatekeepers, the ones that wear the white pointy hats, the real dunces, they're going to tell you probably that they tried to keep him, God forbid, under control, to keep him from doing more bad things. It's why Prince always said I got two sides and they're both friends. And it's why he was always so cool. It's why he always looked like he knew something that you didn't. Because when you see the future, it's very hard to put into words, but you do your darndest. And when you're writing songs, you say, excuse me if it goes astray. I was dreaming when I wrote this. So to see the world that's not visible in this physical place and to have the visions in the... I was learning about it in the Etz Chaim, the Tree of Life information that I was learning today. People either have wisdom or they don't, because it's the Creator that gives the wisdom. So there's a lot of very unwise teachers out there. There's actually some teachers too that have some wisdom, but they like power and control and money and sex way more than they like godly wisdom, so they tell lies. Not me. I'm going to tell the truth, because when the truth comes and the liars, the media, come to say, oh, that's the Antichrist. No, that's actually your Creator. And the Korean whole Gog-Magog war thing is to turn us as holy souls that the Creator made against our very Creator, God forbid. That is the purpose, so that He will not have, after this time of calamity and war, that He would not have a people to follow Him and call Him King, and they want us gone. They want us all with RFID chips, believing that there is no God, and it's the darkest, most deviant plan. Man, you stop watching horror movies and you stop doing a lot when you see the truth, just like I have. And I've dedicated my life to telling the truth, and I will continue to do so. If this portal, or whatever it is that has to do with CERN, which is Luciferian CERN, Prince R. Nelson CERN, right in the middle, if that were to happen, it would remove, God forbid, His godly covering from us, from this, what He protects us from in this physical place, and we'd be able to see what's really there. Perhaps it would unleash something from the underworld, which I saw too, where there was children in cages and such a disregard for human life. It's like a person stepping on an ant and not caring. They don't care. I care. The whole gatekeeper thing, they who control the religious story that Jesus is Messiah and Jesus will come back and save you, and I don't know what, wave a magic wand and make the world much better. I'm not sure why. No, none of that's going to happen, but the industry story that it's going to happen that way is what they've kept a hold on. It keeps people complacent, twiddling their thumbs, waiting on a Messiah, not looking to do self-correction and tshuva. and make amends to the Creator, because when this time comes, the closer you are to the Creator, the more you're going to get to like be with Him in this way that I can't explain either. So the evil one's purpose in this society that we live in is to separate us as completely as possible, not only from the music and religiously and culturally and racially, everything. It's the great divide. They want to divide us from our Creator and lie to us about who He actually is. It's that deep.